It's Clark and Perry on the case. Da-na-na-na. Clark and Perry do what it takes. Da-na-na-na. Clark and Perry investigate.
The activities and interests of local artists in the Windy City's finest throughout both Lethbridge and Medicine Hat, Alberta. Available on TELUS, Optic TV, On Demand, VidFlex, YouTube, and more for limited time only. Terms and conditions apply.
Da-na-na-na.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in again. This is yet another episode of the Windy City's finest. I'm Perry. He's Clark, and we are joined once again by the lovely Victoria Nestorowicz.
Hi.
I said it right, right?
You did it.
Okay. I'm going to second guess myself every time on that. I'm so sorry.
Not an easy last week.
Yeah. Awesome. And yes, we are going to be diving into singing, songwriting, musicianship, I believe. Yeah. Awesome. I think first things first, if you would be able to just kind of walk us through what we've got to work with and play with here, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So first of all, I'll do a song on my uke, and this is my uke. I got this from the Edmonton Folk Festival.
Oh, okay.
And it's an Edmonton company that does it, and I love it. It's lovely. The only thing is it doesn't plug in, so it might be a bit quiet, which might be okay with my playing.
Yeah.
And then I do have a guitar as well, which is my lovely guitar and a keyboard. So I'm not like 100% proficient at any of these instruments. I can just play each of them to sort of the bare minimum of like cowboy chords and maybe a little bit further.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've kind of allowed myself not to be a perfectionist when it comes to it sometimes. So
that's awesome. Yeah, because it gives you a variety of different things to play with.
Yeah, and like when I'm on a car ride or like we're like going to India to visit my husband's family there, and it's like, hey, well, we'll bring the uke because I've brought a guitar before and it's gotten wrecked.
Oh, no.
So like there's things travel. This travels better. I can do it in the car or when we're camping or something, and then the guitar is nice sometimes to bring to a gig. And then this is like an old trusty keyboard that I bought off of somebody on Marketplace, and it's like super 80s style, so it's got some interesting settings. But yeah, it's kind of fun to play around with. And keyboard is something, I find it really nice to write when I play keyboard because I pretty much can just do chords. Like I'm not playing piano here, I'm a chord player.
Right.
But it's easy to find your vocal line and your melody really with a piano, and whereas guitar, like ukulele, can be easy with that as well. I haven't spent as much time fiddling with ukulele. I've written some songs on it, but again, they're pretty like minimal bare chords. And then the guitar, I've written some songs on as well, but that I find the guitar for myself, because I didn't initially learn how to play properly. I just kind of taught myself. So I have some really bad habits, and it actually like can cause some like pain in my body to play it too much.
Yeah, I know, for sure. Yeah.
I'm like, chiropractor's like, what's up? I'm like, I was playing a lot of guitar. So
interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
And just really quick, how long have you had each of these things for?
So the uke I think I got probably like 9 years ago or something. My first guitar I got when I was 19. So I started playing guitar when I was about 18, 19 years old. I was like relatively old, I think, to start playing guitar. But it's been, 20 some years. So I've learned a bit, but like I said, I started teaching myself, and then I did take some lessons here and there. And I took some lessons with a guitar player here in Lethbridge named James Oldenburg. And he's by far my favorite guitar teacher. He showed me incredible things, and I started to play up the neck and sort of was able to use more than just the first two fretboards. Right. So and this one though I've had I think maybe 6 or 7 years, and then this I've had for maybe a year or something, but it's way older than that, obviously.
Right on.
Yeah.
Cool. I love the plants.
Thanks.
I love it. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Is this where you would typically do your music?
Yeah, generally I would. Yeah, around the house. We have like a really old piano in the back room that somebody gave to us because it was completely out of tune, and I did have somebody come tune it, and he was like, "This is not going to stay in tune, but it's nice. Like it's my son will use it to practice on, and I can still play on it. It's got a couple keys that are like mute, and then down it's like completely out of tune now. But it also makes a great hockey net. So but it does get played too. Yeah. Like I do write on that one a lot because it's sort of like a fun. It's old. Like I think it's from like the 20s or something. Wow. So yeah, somebody's painted it. I didn't, but yeah, I like the sound of it sometimes, and it's nice to play some of the songs on it. So yeah, I play all over the place, but this has been somewhere lately that I've been playing more.
And do you find that like where you are kind of impacts like what you're writing or the mood, or
sometimes I guess it depends on the time of day. But yeah, like sometimes this is closer to our bedroom, so if it's like night and I'm trying to get my son to sleep, then I won't play here. But yeah, if I play in that back room, I'll play quietly, and usually more of like a ballad will come out over there, I suppose. Whereas here, yeah, if it's like midday, like my son and I actually one day we sat here on the keyboard and we were writing a song, and it's like our like, I don't know, I call it my like yeehaw, like kind of sports song, like that's like the anthem song. But I've tried to record it with my musical partner, and it still hasn't come out the way I'd like it to.
Someday.
One day.
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah, and it's my fault. It's not his. It's like vocally, I just haven't gotten there yet, I suppose.
Yeah, part of the journey, for sure. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. And are you ready, feel comfortable to just kind of show us a song?
Yeah, we'll do a song on the uke.
For sure.
And hopefully it goes okay.
Yeah, and if not, we can start.
I go through like my things. So sometimes I will play more uke, or sometimes I'll play more piano. Again, it depends on like how my body feels, because if I'm in pain, it's hard to play the guitar sometimes. But yeah. So this is a song I wrote maybe just over a year ago. Yeah, I think in like February of 2022, I wrote this one. And I wrote it on the uke. So that's why I'm playing it on it. It's called You Are Being Played. You are being played. It don't matter what you say. Pent up anger and hate, led by scrolling down the page. You are being played. Competition for the air that you breathe. I can feel the rage pulsing through my rib cage, but I know, da 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 da, but I know, da 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 da, and I cried last night. I cried, and I cried today. I cried. They'll get you high and they lie. I cried. You are being played, stuck on screens and inoculated, told who to hate, set you off or set you straight, but I know, da 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 da, but I know, da 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 da, and I cried last night. I cried, and I cried today. I cried. They'll get you high and they lie. I cried. You are being played. You are being played. Don't feel bad to take a break. It won't go away, but your spirit they will never take. But I know, ba da 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 da, but I know, da 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 da, and I cried last night. I cried, and I cried today. I cried. They'll get you high and they lie.
Oh, that is so sweet. I love it so much. Thank you so much. And
Oh, thanks.
I actually just want to shout out back to like one of our first episodes, a local dancer, Chandra Deck. You gave us permission to dance to this song.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so awesome, you know, having heard that recorded version
Mm-hmm.
and like acoustic version.
Yeah.
And like one of the big things like from the recorded version that I remember is like this kind of electronic voice in it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
I know that kind of ties into some of the lyrics, but is there anything you have to share on like that process of like just an acoustic, like writing a song and, you know, recording something? Like, is there, I don't know.
Yeah,
anything?
well,
Yeah.
and that was like it's such a ghetto recording too, because I think I just recorded it on GarageBand, and
Yeah.
my musical partner, we have a band called With Hidden Noise, and it's all one word. And he lent me he has a lot of really cool stuff that he uses when we make music, and he lent me like this vocal pedal that I use sometimes for harmonies and stuff like that. So it's got all these different things, and I was just playing like there's like a robot harmony and like these super creepy sounds, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I wrote this song one night that I was just obviously was having an emotional experience for the last couple days, and yeah, I just was like, I want to like play with this creepy voice, and like that's what I sort of had fun with it, and just recorded it to like send to my musical partner and be like, what do you think of this? Let's do something with it, like you know. So yeah, it was totally just like a one-off. Like I was just sitting here, I think the boys had gone to like a hockey game or something, so I just was like in that short 2 hours I wrote this song, and then I recorded it, and I did all those weird creepy voiceovers, and yeah, I like it. Again, it was kind of like a weird, you know, I've got a couple songs like that I write them and then I forget about them. Like I probably would have forgotten about this until I was like, oh right, this is something I just like wrote myself recently.
Right.
What do you think, you know?
Yeah.
So but yeah.
Right on. No, yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, like, can you share a little bit about what the song is about? Like
so many things, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's I think I was like frustrated again, like that social media aspect of things, where I was like looking at what people were saying, and sometimes I just think that we like if you meet somebody in person and have a conversation with them, regardless if they're politically left or politically right, you can usually find some kind of like common ground and have like a normal, you know, be like, this is a person I'm talking to. Right. This is a human interaction. But you know, as we all know, that doesn't necessarily happen on social media. And I find myself constantly sort of straddling in between the left and the right. Like I used to be, especially in my younger days, way more left. Like I even have a song about like voting for the Green Party, which unfortunately we can't really do in Southern Alberta because there's not very many candidates. But I found, like, especially obviously cliche, but during the pandemic, there was just so much division, right? And it's so much division, and even working in a library and in schools, there's just so much division of like, you're either this or you're that, or you're with this team or you're with that team, right? And I get some of it. Like, of course you want to advocate and be there and support your friends, or if you're going through some type of an experience where people are not, you know, aren't being humane to you, then of course you have the right to stand up for yourself. So I'm not against that, but just sometimes it's just like, I always feel like a bit of a misfit, or like a little, now I'm like this political orphan, because I'm like, I don't know where I fit in anymore when it comes to that stuff, right? Because I really don't agree with like either spectrum of things. And I don't know that, like, I have these conversations all the time with people, and they're like, me too, you know. So we're all sort of political orphans in a way, especially in Alberta.
It's a similarity.
But yeah, it's difficult because I mean, it brings up a lot of feelings and a lot of emotions, and you know, understandably, you know, there are people who are, you know, for certain things and against certain things, and like I said, everybody, you know, there's definitely points of view all over, and but I think that there's just been a lot of like cruel behavior, and I think it comes from both the right and left sides. And it used to be that like the left side, I felt, just had a little bit more of a like dignified or humane way, right? But I just felt like during the pandemic, all of a sudden it was like beating down the rednecks who knew nothing and were all Trump supporters. And it's like, well, but that's not true either. Like, that's not. There are people who might be more, you know, conservative, but they're still people. And like, you know, I grew up in a family that is quite conservative. So, you know, maybe that's why I see it. I never voted conservative or anything, but I was also, I just was like, wait a minute, like, you know, and especially in the art scene and stuff too, right? You get a really, really, you know, they speak out of like what they believe and what should be, and that's great. But sometimes it comes at a cost of like really dehumanizing other people. And I don't know that that's okay.
No, yeah, for sure. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, or people who just dehumanizing people who like actually don't understand because they have their own experiences and circumstances, right? That it's like, well, it's probably just that they don't get it. Like they don't know what your life is like or what, you know, what's actually going on.
Yeah, no, it's very hard to tell what anybody is going through, you know, that you don't interact with every single day, and you know. But
and the message of it is that like we're all kind of being played by like, we're sort of these political pawns, right? And we're like, you know, we're the pawns, like we're not the kings and the queens and the knights and stuff, right? We're just like the little pieces that are gonna fight against each other, and we can only move so many spaces, and you know, like we're and it's about us battling each other, where you know, it's kind of that like, again, cliche of you know, like divide and conquer, which I know was said a lot. Like I had made that documentary.
I'm just gonna come sit over here.
Yes, please do. It's much more comfortable than sitting there.
Yes.
I had made that documentary back when we met, kind of, right? Yeah. For TELUS about the safe consumption site. And yeah, this just kind of goes into that, right? Because that was a really hard thing to make, because I had a phone call with a mom who had a son who had died from overdose, and she's huge in the like advocacy for safe consumption sites and like and whatnot. And I read a lot of Gabor Mate books in the realm of Hungry Ghosts, which is a lot about that as well. And I believe in a lot of that work. And there's people who they don't either know about it, or maybe it's just not the answer for everybody. Right. Like it's just not, right? There are people who are struggling that like for them to have, and I don't know if medicalizing things are going to make anything better. You know what I mean? Like, is it? Like there's, again, the book that I read about, you know, there's definitely not always players in the game that are super ethical. And those are the kings and the queens and the knights. So I think it's just that. It's a bit political. And I was a huge Ani DeFranco fan growing up, and she was kind of, I think I got her album when I was about 16 years old. I went to a drama camp when I was young. It was called Artstruck in Southern Alberta, or in Vermilion, I think was where I first went to it, Alberta, kind of central Alberta. And somebody had introduced Ani DeFranco to me, and she's this like super, was a punk singer back in the day, but has like, she's like Madonna, but a little more alternative, you know. She like completely changed as she went. Like she was known as like a lesbian back then, but then she married a man, and then she like had this crowd hating her that were like her original fans because she had changed. And then like there's just all this drama around her, but her music has always kind of moved along with her as she's progressed in her life or changed in her life. And yeah, it's pretty cool. And she's very political. So I think that I take a lot from her music.
And like another thing that strikes me about the song is like the ukulele, it just even with your voice, like it just feels like the perfect instrument. Like I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but it's just like, was it like did you hear that yourself and you're like, this is the instrument?
I think so. And like, especially with the juxtaposition of that like creepy robot sound in the recording, because it's like, this is so sweet. And like, you don't
Yeah.
necessarily need to listen to the lyrics because it's just like, oh, it's the ukulele. We're all just like chilling on the beach. But then if you listen, you're like, oh, right, I'm being played. It's kind of creepy. So yeah, I kind of like that. I like writing songs like that.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, did you have anything else to share about that song? About this song?
I don't think so.
Because one thing it brought to mind for me is like, you know, in our interview, like you had kind of mentioned, like with the what do you need less of, and it's like the urgency and you know, like scrolling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me of like distracting oneself and from maybe what you need to deal with or you know what needs your attention or your urgency and but again it's such a juxtaposition in the song because it's so laid back and like
totally. And at the end I say like it's okay to take a break, right? Because that's like something, and that's, you know, most of my songs are like just messages to myself, you know. If somebody else takes something out of it, that's a bonus. That's great.
For sure.
But yeah, it's usually I think a moment in time where I'm like, oh, I can listen back to this a couple of years later and be like, oh, this is where I was at, or you know, oh, I can take a break, you know. And
rest is important. Yeah. Right on.
Totally.
And you wrote this in 2 hours?
Oh, I wrote this in less than 2 hours. And I think like it's Bob Dylan who says that like your best songs are the ones that you like just kind of, you just get on it and you just like right back to front, right? And I mean, the chords are pretty easy. So composition wise, it's like pretty much the same thing over, and the chorus turns it up a little bit. But yeah, I think just because I had that, that urgency in my head of like, I need to get this out, I did. And yeah, usually I find those are the songs that sort of stick with me. The ones that I like really need to work on doing and like work on figuring out what are the lyrics for this, or like, you know, that don't really rate themselves, then it's not usually a good song.
For sure.
Or it's
Maybe
like, you know, it's not, I don't like it as much, sort of a thing. And I'm still, I don't know, I love to rhyme. I have, my musical partner is always like, do we have to rhyme this? And I'm like, no, we don't have to, but I don't know, rhyming is something to me that I just like it.
Yeah, no, it's very satisfying. Yeah.
I mean, right?
It's so
where
satisfying.
You're like, it's like, oh. And stuff like this, when you're like thinking different things, like even when I go back to play it, sometimes I say a different word, like, so they have this like you're being played, stuck on screens, and inoculated, but I've also got stuck on screens and manipulated, right? So I've like sung that sometimes and I'm like, oh, that word would actually work better, or whatever. So you know,
interesting. Yeah, I know. No, there's something very, very satisfying about rhyming, and it's like a puzzle piece. I find I like poetry and stuff. Yeah, it's like a puzzle piece, and I know a lot of people get stumped by like perfect rhymes and like soft rhymes.
Right.
But soft
it
rhymes,
doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, soft rhymes are where it's at for me.
Like a near rhyme, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. But yeah, right on. Cool. Yeah, and it's crazy what you can do with just basic knowledge. Is that right?
Yeah.
Like you said the chords are fairly basic.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. The uke is really lovely like that. Like, I mean, there's definitely some pretty incredible ukulele players, and you can go with it and go far with it. But yeah, like this is, you know, what they'll bring into a school and have like grade 5, grade 6 kids start to learn on as a ukulele, because it's just so easy, and it's easy to get your fingers around it and stuff like that. It's easy to press on the strings. These strings are kind of old. I apologize. I probably need to change my uke strings. Guitar strings have been changed, but the uke I've neglected. But yeah, so it's just, it's lovely. I like playing it. It's good.
Right on.
And there's chord diagrams all over.
Yeah, everywhere
to get you there.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Should we dive into a different song?
Yes.
Or what are you feeling?
Yes, we can go into a different song. Let's see what different song we can go into. I feel like I was thinking to do a guitar song next.
Okay, yeah.
Or we could stick with sorry.
No, that's okay.
I've got pages of songs
pages
and this is me in my 40s, like not being able to remember things very well. So, or just being like, well, you know, it's only going to be better if I don't mess up. So yeah. Yeah, I didn't run this one by you, but this is one I wrote a while ago. And it's called Crosses. And I wrote it, I'm pretty sure I actually wrote this one on the Uke because we were driving, my family's from the interior of BC, from Burns Lake. And we were driving to Burns Lake and it's kind of that Highway 16. I don't know if you've ever been on the Highway of Tears, if you know about the Highway of Tears. It's like the highway that there's been a lot of like missing and murdered Indigenous women on that highway specifically. And there's also, there's all types of people have gone missing on that highway. But yeah, so I wrote this kind of while we were driving on it, or at least I think I wrote the chorus. I'm just making sure we're in tune here. It's been a little while since I've sung and played this one though, so
that's fair. Yeah, we can take it.
Just take off
take
my
it
ring.
slow.
Okay.
Yeah, do what you gotta
It's
do.
new to you.
Yeah,
I didn't run
exactly.
this by them. This is a surprise.
And just really quick, like you mentioned, like mistakes, like other happy mistakes in your singing, songwriting sometimes, or not really?
I don't know. Maybe we'll figure that out.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a couple years old. Crosses on the ground, lupine all around, on the road of tears. We won't forget her face. She surrounds this place, fireweed sparks under tears. She will float, let her go. She will float, let her grow. She rises with the bears, strands of wisdom in her hair like silver medals. Amidst a hazy fire lies a new empire, brightly colored petals. She will float, let her go. She will float, let her grow. We'll leave the white berries. We respect and we appease. We are all a part of the earth after all. And at a different pace, another space, the morphing race will rise up after the fall. She will float, let her go. She will float, let her grow. Crosses on the ground, lupine all around.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. You wrote that on the drive, on that highway.
Yeah, I know I wrote the chorus on it. I think
For
that I
sure.
came back home and I wrote a little bit more, a couple of the verses. But yeah, I wrote the chorus. I know on that drive.
Oh, that's
Because
amazing.
there's lots of like crosses on the ground, and I mean, it's coming to light more. And again, that's another book I'm reading right now, a nonfiction book about that stretch of the highway.
Right.
And it's between Prince George and Prince Rupert, and there's just been so many missing and murdered Indigenous women there, and so many bizarre reasons or stories, or trying to figure out why, and it's even recently, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like, okay, this needs to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you mentioned in our interview, that word empowering, and like I have to imagine that in some way, shape, or form, to be able to visit a place or just pass through a place and like know something about it and put it into words in a specific order, and like with chords in a specific order, like there's something kind of empowering about that, like even just to the story and to those people's story that either hasn't been told yet or is being told or figured out, and
It's Clark and Perry on the case. Da-na-na-na. Clark and Perry do what it takes. Da-na-na-na. Clark and Perry investigate.
The activities and interests of local artists in the Windy City's finest throughout both Lethbridge and Medicine Hat, Alberta. Available on TELUS, Optic TV, On Demand, VidFlex, YouTube, and more for limited time only. Terms and conditions apply.
Da-na-na-na.